Now we're going to talk about rules for writing formulas for binary ionic compounds. We're dealing with ionic compounds today, which is a metal and a nonmetal. And a binary compound just means it contains only two elements. There are three steps. First, you want to write the symbol and oxidation number for the metal, which will be always the first one. The second step is to write the symbol and oxidation number for the nonmetal. And then you want to crisscross the oxidation numbers to find out how many of each atom is needed. And I'll explain the crisscross when we go through examples. Some more tips is don't include the plus or minus in the subscripts. If oxidations are the same, not the signs, so the numbers are the same, don't crisscross. So if you have a +2 and a -2, you don't crisscross. The subscripts tell us how many of each element is needed. So here is one example. We'll do some more examples, but for aluminum sulfide, aluminum is first. So you start with aluminum is the metal, so that symbol and oxidation number is written first, which is Al +3 if you look at a periodic table. Sulfur is the nonmetal, so it was written second. If you look at your periodic table, that would be S and -2. So we've got Al +3 and S -2. Then the oxidation numbers are crisscrossed. So you will crisscross the oxidation numbers. So those numbers were crisscrossed, so you'll end up getting Al2, S3. The reason why we crisscross is so that we balance out the charges. 2 times a +3 is +6, 3 times a -2 is -6, and so we end up getting a neutral compound. So for the formula for aluminum sulfide shows that we need 2 aluminum atoms and 3 sulfur atoms. So now we're going to go through some examples. You'll want to use your periodic table. So first you should find both of the elements on the periodic table. So we've got, on this periodic table, we have chromium right here and chlorine right here. Chromium is a transition metal, and that does not have a oxidation number. Most of them don't have always the same oxidation number, and so I'll explain how to find the chromium on the other page. Chlorine, the oxidation number is going to be a -1. So first, remember you write the symbols and the oxidation numbers. So chromium is a Cr, and this is a Roman numeral, and that will tell you the oxidation number. So it's the metal, so it's plus, and then the oxidation number is a 3. Chloride was the Cl, and that was the -1. Now you want to crisscross. So the 3 comes down here. The 1 goes down there, but you never need to cross over a 1. So we'll just get Cr and then Cl3. Now we're going to do calcium sulfide. So look at the periodic table. Calcium is right here. Sulfur is right here. So calcium is going to be a +2. Sulfur is going to be a -2. So let's go and write those. So we've got calcium, that was a +2. Sulfur, that was a -2. Remember I said that one of the important tips was that we do not cross over if they're the same number. So since we both have 2's, they don't cross over. So it's just going to be CAS. You should pause and try to do the last one yourself. Next, we have rubidium phosphide. So looking at your periodic table, we've got rubidium right here. Phosphorus is going to be the phosphide. You may have noticed that the endings are a little bit different on the second element, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So rubidium is going to be a +1. Phosphorus is a -3. So we've got rubidium. That's going to be a +1. And phosphide was a P, and that is going to be a -3. They cross over again. So this crosses here. The 1 crosses there, but once again, we don't need to cross over 1. So we'll end up getting RB3 and P, and you don't need a 1. Okay, now we're going to talk about writing the names. So rules for writing the name. First, write the name of the metal. Your transition metals, some of them need Roman numerals, except these ones do not need Roman numerals. Every other transition metal needs a Roman numeral. Remember, your transition metals are right here. So those ones will need Roman numerals, except for these three: silver, cadmium, and zinc. You can circle those ones on your periodic table so you remember those ones do not need Roman numerals. To determine the Roman numeral, if there are subscripts, the subscript of the nonmetal is the Roman numeral. If there are no subscripts, the charge of the oxidation number of the nonmetal is the Roman numeral. So if there are subscripts, the subscript of the nonmetal is the Roman numeral because it crossed over. If there are no subscripts, whatever the charge of the nonmetal is, that's going to be the same as the metal. And then write the name of the nonmetal, but you want to make sure you change the ending of that second element's name to "ide." So we're going to go through some examples. So here we've got K3N. So we've got K here and N over here. So we're going to name this. K is not a transition metal, so we don't have to worry about Roman numerals. So we've got K, which is potassium, and N, which is nitrogen. So we've got potassium, so we just write that. When you're naming these, you do not have to really worry about the subscripts unless you have to worry about a Roman numeral. The N was nitrogen, but we need to change the ending, so it's going to change to nitride. Okay, now we have CuO. So looking at the periodic table, we've got Cu, which is copper, and that is a transition metal. It's not one of your three exceptions, which are these three. So it does need a Roman numeral, and we'll need to figure that one out. And O is oxygen. So we're first going to write our copper, because Cu was copper. We do need Roman numerals, but we'll do those last. So I'll just write the parentheses in. And then O was oxygen, but we need to change the ending to "ide, so it'll be oxide. Okay, now we need to figure out the Roman numeral. Notice that there aren't any subscripts. So that means whatever the charge of oxygen is, that's going to be the Roman numeral that goes into it. So looking at oxygen, oxygen is a -2. So that means Roman numeral 2 needs to go in parentheses. Pause and try to do the last one by yourself. So now we've got SES. Se is right here. So that is another transition metal, so it's going to need a Roman numeral. And S is right here. So Sc is scandium, S is sulfur. So first we'll write scandium. It does need a Roman numeral, but we'll do that last. S is with sulfur, but we need to change the ending, so it'll be sulfide. Now, in this one does have subscripts. It doesn't matter where the subscripts are, but it has subscripts. So we look at the nonmetal, which is sulfur. If you look at the nonmetal, it doesn't have a subscript. That means that technically it would have a subscript kind of 1. So that means that that 1 crosses back over. So we're going to put Roman numeral 1 in parentheses. That is it for today's notes.